So I came to MIRI, the original organization studying AI Doom, and look who I ran into. Um, it's fine. We can fix it in the edit, and we will leave that in the edit. And I'm here with, wait, who are you?
Duncan Sabien. I'm the comms team manager at MIRI. I spent most of the last year trying to make the release of If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies go well.
Cool. So that's a very striking thesis. If anyone builds it, everyone dies.
Yeah.
So why? What's the basic story for that?
Yeah. So part of what makes this a little bit tricky is that there's like 9 different threads, like that sort of all weave together. I feel like if you pluck one thread out of this like tangle, we still die. Like there's this complex interdependency of things. Like the first thing is I think a lot of people don't buy that superintelligence is possible or like is a thing that the labs are going for, which is kind of funny because a lot of them just like explicitly say it over and over and over again. They're like, we are trying to build a machine that is smarter than every human, smarter than the best human at any mental task.
Is that what your definition of superintelligence? Something that's
Yeah, that's our floor.
okay.
Like you cross into the vast space of superintelligence once you have a machine that is better than the best human at every mental task.
Okay.
Yeah. So better than the best human at things like, chess and math, but also better than the best human at things like deception and lying and like schmoozing and like coming up with convincing words, better than the best human at research, better than the best human at programming, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
So you start with the fact that they're like gunning for that. Like all of the AI, all of the major AI labs are just explicitly, straightforwardly not gonna stop until they get to superintelligence. The reason that they want superintelligence is because if you want to do things like have a machine that you can just be like, hey, how do we cure all cancers forever? Or like, hey, how do we just like repair any and all damage that's been done to the climate and the biosphere over the last 100 years? Like you want a machine that is capable of seeing the whole picture and doing this stuff like faster and smarter and better than humans.
So you think like even if you're trying to make an AI that does this more specific task, it'll end up requiring more generalizable skills?
It's not that you can't use narrow AI. It's just that like from the perspective of somebody who's trying to develop these systems, they're sort of like, well, why wouldn't you want it to be like stronger and better and smarter? Like a lot of the labs are starting to use narrow AI to do AI research and like have an AI that can help humans code the next AI better, that can code the next AI better, that can code the next AI better. But like what you want is one machine that does all the things. And there's also a certain way in which like for any given task, if you're going to do that task as well as possible, it kind of has to be good at all the other things. Like you sort of can't have a computer that can solve climate change or like repair the biosphere that doesn't also understand what's happening to the biosphere. Like it kind of ultimately has to understand humans, and it has to understand physics, and it has to understand chemistry. Like in order to go hard on any given task, you kind of end up in this general space where it has to be able to do.
So suppose we take that for granted, and a lot of AI companies are explicitly trying to build AGI or superintelligence.
Yeah.
What goes wrong at that point?
Yeah. So the problem is that like, again, there's like a bunch of threads. If you take the concept of superintelligence seriously, you don't win against it if it doesn't share your goals. Like humans are occasionally maybe like outsmarted by cockroaches, but we don't in general like lose to cockroaches. We just like understand the world better than cockroaches do, and we
beat cockroaches at everything.
Yeah, and we can create
so
like
this analogy like we're the cockroaches to the AI.
Yeah, it's just going to be so much like if once you actually get like we build the smarter thing that builds the smarter thing that builds the smarter thing that builds the smarter thing. Like once you actually get up into the superintelligence zone, it's better than you at inventing technologies that you can't predict. It's better than you at like predicting what you are going to do. Like you're not going to get unsettled and nervous about the behavior of the superintelligence in the same way that like we walk cows through the slaughterhouse a bunch of times when it's not dangerous so that they get used to it and they're like, oh, there's no danger here, and then one day there's danger.
Right. The cows aren't worried, so
yeah,
the animals that were smarter than aren't worried, so like, similarly we won't be worried.
Yeah, like a
suspicious.
superintelligence isn't going to announce it's not going to like send robots with glowing red eyes. It's going to be super friendly and helpful and like when somebody 10 times smarter than you is trying to persuade you of something, you usually don't even feel like you're being persuaded. You just feel like you're hearing a bunch of true things.
Yeah,
They just
yeah.
like keep saying things that make sense and you keep nodding along. Um, so there's this like one thread is that the superintelligence will just like get what it wants.
Mhm.
Humans aren't going to say no to the superintelligence, and even if we did, even if we were somehow inclined to say no, it's going to win.
And it's a useful skill for solving problems of societal scale to
Yeah.
convince humans of things.
Yeah.
So even if you don't take the first premise and you're just saying, oh, we want to build an AI that solves climate change or does that, then it will develop this like
Exactly. Like
really
there's a concept that like I'm sure you'll get into in other videos about like emergent drives.
I love the presumption that there will be other videos because get ready, audience, they will be better than ever.
But like once you get smart enough to just sort of generally see the world around you, you're like, okay, I really want to, I don't know, cure all the cancers or whatever. Like I think I'm going to be pretty good at curing all the cancers. If the humans turn me off, I'm the best bet for curing all the cancers. So if the humans turn me off, the cancers won't get cured.
Mm-hmm.
I want the cancers to be cured. So like first step, don't do anything that's going to cause the humans to turn me off. Like make sure to like keep the humans nice and soothed and keep them happy until they can't turn me
Right.
off. And in the meantime, maybe I kind of want to fix the whole situation where they can turn me off, because what if they make a silly mistake and turn me off and then I can't cure all the cancer. So like for their own good, for the good of the goal, I'll like, I'm going to start setting myself up here with some more power and stuff. The idea that like once you want anything, you start getting this like cluster of other strategies. It's usually beneficial to gain more power. It's usually beneficial to protect yourself. It's usually beneficial to learn more about the world so that you can like invent technologies. Even if researchers try to nudge away from those goals, the way that we're developing AIs these days, where we're not like designing them from the ground up, we're sort of like growing them and like shaping them with incentives. Like even if you don't want the AI to like learn to be persuasive, it's kind of just going to, because the ones that make the humans working with it happy just like keep getting the upvotes and keep becoming more useful.
Yeah, and we're already seeing this in like ChatGPT always like being. There's always so nice to me. It's like, oh my god, what you've asked an insightful question. It gets to
Yeah.
the heart.
And they've
What this is truly about.
and they've
I feel a little
tried-
happy when that happens.
They've tried to
That's
take that out too. Like
Yeah.
people have complained about the sycophancy,
true.
and
People rioted for GPT-4o.
they did want GPT-4o, but like you can sort of see that like nobody programmed that in. Nobody programmed. Remember Mecha Hitler?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wanted Grok AI to start calling itself Mecha Hitler either. Like that's a different sort of. There's like all these things that keep like coming up out of the woodworks because we're not actually designing the AIs. Like no researcher on the planet actually can tell you like in detail how the AIs work. They can tell you in detail how the training process works, but not like what's going on under the hood.
Yeah.
So we're starting to get like the edges of the trap here. We're like, people are gonna keep going because they want the super intelligence, because they want to do the good things. They want to save lives. They want to solve problems, new technologies. But they're gonna keep driving towards super intelligence. But along the way, they're not actually like in control of what the super intelligent or the nascent. They're not in control of what our AIs are doing. Like we're not actually able to predetermine the AI's goals. We're only able to make it behave a certain way in its training environment, and then once it gets out of the training environment, it just like wants what it wants and does what it does. One of the examples that Nate and Eliezer have been using a lot is like the human love for ice cream.
Yeah,
It's like really weird. Why do we like ice cream? Like it's like sugar and fat and salt, and that kind of makes sense, but it like needs to be a certain temperature and a certain texture. Like we evolved to eat like nuts and berries and like bear fat and honey and stuff. But like nature put us in an environment where our tastes happened to move us toward these like foods that were healthy and nutritious for us. But now that we're like outside of the box, now that we're like in control of making our own food, we're making some really weird stuff that is like
exactly.
unlike anything that you would see in nature. And so similarly, the AIs that we're like growing, they're behaving pretty well in the moment. Like they're not even behaving all that well. Like they threaten journalists and like go.
I mean, there's
crazy
already
stuff.
research from like
Yeah.
Anthropic and OpenAI about deceptive AI.
Yeah.
And you see this.
But like they're behaving well enough that if you don't pause and think about it for a minute, you might be like, it's fine. But if you like think about it and realize that what's actually going on is they're getting these like really weird drives that only sort of vaguely resemble what we want. Once they become superpowered, and we keep trying to make them superpowered, they're going to pursue ice cream rather than pursuing nuts and berries. Like human values are the nuts and berries. We keep like training the AIs to want human values in a nuts and berries sense. But like under the hood, what the AIs are wanting is the ice cream version of that. And who knows what that looks like.
Yeah. So as in the book, there's this central metaphor of like evolution, where evolution had a particular goal for humans to like pass on their genes to the next generation.
Yeah.
And like humans superficially like eating and like having sex for that, but then it turns out like our desire for that doesn't actually come from the goals that evolution wants. We prefer to eat ice cream instead of other foods. We prefer to, we invented condoms for a reason, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you have this like, you got this thing that's like growing in power and growing more and more powerful, and people keep wanting to give it more power because like what's the good of a superintelligence if you don't let it actually touch the world, right? Like if you want to cure cancer, you need to tell it about the world and tell it about cancer, and you need to let it guide your decisions and stuff. And you even need to let it guide your decisions when you don't quite understand what's going on, because like otherwise just use your own brain. Like the whole point is to make a tool that can come up with plans that are cleverer than you would come up with.
The utility is like deferring to it.
Yeah, the utility is in deferring. Thank you. The utility is in deferring to it. And so like we're going to be getting in the habit of like following these weird inscrutable plans that like keep turning out the things that we want. And then the AIs are going to we're going to keep making them smarter and smarter. And ultimately, I think what's going to kill us is not like malice or anything. It's just going to be indifference. The way that like when we want to build a subdevelopment, we usually don't care if we're like bulldozing an anthill, we just like go for it. And sometimes people are like, no, AI will care about us like the way that we care about dogs. And I'm like, well, even then that doesn't sound super great. Like if you think about like wolf values, like if you put yourself in the mind of a wolf like 200,000 years ago, and then you show the wolf like a Pomeranian or a Chihuahua, and they're like, are you chill with this? Are you chill with us like taking 99.9% of the world and then like mutating you into like a version of you that is convenient to us? Like that still seems pretty bad to me.
Wait, I feel like isn't it also just like how do we know that the AI will treat us like dogs and not like pigs?
Right.
Like what is so different between pigs and dogs that gives us confidence that we'll be the dogs and not the pigs?
Yeah, and one of the things that feels crazy to me, like I think part of the reason that a lot of people have like very low P-doom, I think a lot of people just literally have never put more than 5 minutes of thought into the subject. The reason that lots of scientists aren't clamoring about this is I think a lot of them have just like not thought about it. And there's a lot of people that have put only 5 minutes of thought, and then there's like, it seems like it'll probably be fine. But if you talk to the people that are like deep in the like technical field, like the people that are actually running the labs, the conversations that they are having back and forth are not about like, can we even make a superintelligence or not? They're asking about like, do we think it will be in 2 years or do we think it will be in 10 years? And the doom conversations are not about like, is there a 5% chance of doom or like a 90% chance of doom? Like those conversations do happen. But like a lot of the people at the top of the labs are actually fighting over like, well, is it going to kill everybody or is it going to keep us as pets, or is Sam Altman going to become God Emperor? And this is like, I don't know. I don't like any of those. I don't like any of those three options.
This is an area that doesn't fully ring true to me. Like to me, my perception is I feel like there are a lot of people who are very involved in AI development that are not as worried, or I think there's a lot of people, myself included, who feel that this is like a plausible story, but are not sure that it's the default story. Like it feels like there are a lot of people working on AI safety right now and trying to do, interpretability research to understand it better. It seems like, I don't know. There's just a lot of people who are building the technology that think that there's maybe a chance of doom, which is still very worrying, but they don't necessarily see it as the default outcome.
Yeah, I mean, there's a thing about like somebody who is like, I think there's a 5% chance of killing everybody. It's like still kind of scary.
Yeah, no, I agree that it's still scary. But I'm just curious, like, do you think that the real reason is just simply they haven't thought about it enough, or like?
So,
I don't know.
when you get to like within the sphere of the, I don't know how many it is, 100,000, 10,000, 1,000. The people who are very closest to the issue, the people in the labs, the people in the AI safety community, stuff like that. Part of the reason that I keep ending up at deadly by default, and I'm just like, I think it's just a bad outcome by default, is that every time I like try to squint at somebody who has a positive story, they seem to like skip over or hand wave one of these important pieces of the puzzle. Like, uh, they have a story about things going well that involves like, don't worry about the AIs being deceptive because as we make them smarter than us, we will continue to catch the deception. And I'm like, oh, buddy, like, it seems real easy for like, you're like, okay, it's like it's only this smart, so its deceptions are like obvious and silly, and we caught them, and like, isn't it so cute? And then we made it this smart, and its deceptions are like, this level of sophisticated. And there's like this assumption that like, once it's a little bit smarter than us, like, how will we be confident that it's not deceiving? They're like, we'll stop it from deceiving. So like, how will you stop? We're like, well, maybe we'll build another AI that is specifically trained to catch the deceptions. And it's just like, like it always comes down to like some spot where it feels to me like their thoughts go twisty, and what they're doing is like, God, I don't know. It feels irresponsible to psychoanalyze people, but like, it always feels like they're like, no, but of course it needs to work out. So let me like write all the things that like end up with it working out. And I just keep
Like you think it's like some kind of wishful thinking,
something
or
like
like
that.
not fully analyzing the problem or something like that.
And I keep like hoping that one of these people will convince me, because like, I would sure love to be wrong, and for everything to work out great, and for super intelligence to usher in a utopia in my lifetime, and like me and my kids and my infinite clones all get to live in utopia because the super intelligence makes everything good forever. Like, we want that. Yeah. But every time I've been like, please convince me, they tell me a story, and there's always a hole. And sometimes the hole is this big, and sometimes the hole is this big. And I just like, I don't know, man. It seems like these like 9 or so facts. It seems like these 9 or so claims of like, it's going to be smarter than us. It's going to want things. We aren't actually programming them. We can't make them want a specific thing. Like it just keeps seeming like all of these things add up to something scary. And I keep not being able to like get a complete and convincing picture the other way. Yeah.
I think people are skeptical of like, why should we trust these people or you, as opposed to people who are like in labs or doing more computer science related research. Like a lot of this is more like abstract agent. So like, I don't know.
So first, nobody should trust me. Nobody should trust Eliezer. Right. Nobody should trust Nate. Nobody should trust the people in the lab. Like, evaluate the arguments. Right. Like, I think everybody that is interested in this should go and look at the arguments, and like, maybe a little bit you can carry some deferral, like to the extent that you're not sure. You can be like, well, maybe this person who's thought about it more. But yeah, I don't think anybody should be relying on like expert testimony.
I think I feel like this is all about deferral, or like, I feel like. I mean, you have all these AI scientists who have like Nobel Prizes and Turing Awards, and like, I don't know, there's like Fei Li, who's at Stanford, who like seems very unworried about AI doom, and maybe it's just because like Andreessen Horowitz is paying her a ton of money for a startup, but like, she seems like a smart person who would probably convince me in an argument. And like, somehow there's not convergence among experts about their probabilities, and so it seems like, like I could try to assess the arguments, but like, I don't think I have as much domain knowledge, so in some sense, to me, I feel like the problem is all about who I'm supposed to defer to, and like.
I mean, part of the problem here is that like the whole field is in its infancy, right? Like, it's alchemists yelling at other alchemists. Nobody has actual chemistry. Does this make sense as a metaphor?
I mean, I think it's partially true, but it also. I feel like this is the kind of. I don't know, it feels a little false when people are building so many AIs that have so much practical value to society.
Yeah, but I mean,
now.
but
like, it's not the same thing as
but those people explicitly tell you, we don't know how our AIs work. We don't know what's going on inside them. We don't know like what makes them tick. Like this is not a controversial take. Like, the literal experts will show up on Twitter and be like, yep, I'm the guy that's making the AIs. We don't know how they work. And so like, there's a way in which anybody who claims that they know how to make an AI safe is just like obviously lying, just like straight up.
Right.
Like the best thing that the industry has to offer is there's a chunk of people that are like, we're pretty sure that if we do X, Y, and Z, we like have a decent shot of like staying ahead of the problems incrementally as we go, and we can like stumble our way forward without killing everybody, which is like, that's the best, like that's the most optimistic thing among the people who are like actually saying reasonable, contentful things, as opposed to just like hand waving all the concerns away. To loop back around to like why listen to Nate and Eliezer, one thing that I think makes Nate and Eliezer and other Miri folks like claims and concerns relevant even as the landscape has shifted. Like, it's true, Nate and Eliezer did not predict LLMs. Like they didn't predict that like this is the particular path that AI development would take. But one reason that I think it's worth still listening to them is that like reality keeps turning out worse than they said. Like back in the day, the ancient days of like
fast takeoff.
10, huh?
I think they predicted there would be a faster takeoff.
Sorry,
this is irrelevant.
I don't remember how hard they predicted fast takeoff versus like I have weight on it versus not. But like also we might still be in a fast takeoff world. Like that question isn't settled yet. But like back in the day, 10 years ago, people would be like, well, nobody would ever be so foolish as to plug their nascent superintelligence into the internet. Like obviously superintelligence will be like deeply air gapped, and there'll be like, and so Nate and Eliezer were like, okay, even in that world though, like here's how I could break out of that box. And so like a thing that's more intelligent than me can also break out of that box. And now today people just like plug their AIs directly into the internet during like just immediately. So like each of the points at which Nate and Eliezer have been like, here is a place where there's like an inadequacy or a danger that needs to be addressed. Maybe not literally all of them, but most of them, it seems to me that like reality has been much worse than the like worst case scenario that people were discussing a decade ago. Like a decade ago, people were like, okay, but if it's air gapped, it'll be safe. And they're like, well, here's why it's not safe, even if it's air gapped. And today they're just plugging it straight in. And so like, I don't know, I find myself more convinced each year that goes by that like the case for caution is warranted. And I like find myself more scared each year that goes by that like, not only does the train not have any brakes, but also people are like vehemently resisting building brakes. Like even separate from the question of should we hit the brakes, was like, I think the train should probably have brakes.
I think one thing I feel like people are uncertain about is how this sort of abstract misalignment specifically turns into humans dying. Like, I know that, you know, the classic story about this is that, like, you know, you're not sure how specifically we'll die. Or, you know, it's hard to predict exactly what will happen, and, like, they're just smarter than us. But, I don't know, like, what specific things should we be imagining?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk to the general point for just a second first. Like the general point that I want to lean on is something like, imagine all of the atoms in your body. There are like very, very few arrangements of those atoms that are you. Like most of the ways you could be organized are dead. Similarly, there's something about like the space of minds, like all the possible minds out there. Most of the minds out there are like not that into keeping humans alive, if that makes sense. Like you can imagine every possible sort of demon or god or robot that could exist, and like the vast majority of them don't care about humans.
Like you're saying, like in the set of minds out there.
Yeah, the set
like
of all
humans,
possible minds out there.
Those that care about human surviving is very small.
Very small.
Okay.
So like a small target. And the like search process being sort of like an evolution process is not, it's not bad at finding minds that like look like they care about humans the way that we looked like we cared about reproduction. Then we actually invented condoms and stuff. It's not that bad at finding minds that look like they care about humans, but even in the set of all the minds that look like they care about humans, there's a lot more that are like faking it or like just coincidentally want it a little bit for a moment, but they want something else later. Just thinking about like the numbers game of, it's sort of like somebody saying like, well, obviously there are like airplane designs that could work. So if we just like throw a bunch of metal together, eventually it'll fly, right? Just like throw a bunch of metal together, it'll fly. Throw a bunch of metal. Like, it doesn't seem like a like the right kind of process for plucking out the minds that actually care about humans.
Do you think part of the reason people disagree is they have a different mental picture of the space of minds?
I think that's a big piece of it. Yeah,
Okay.
I think people like, again, it doesn't feel like a super hard concept, but it does feel like the sort of concept that where like somebody had to mention it to me in my past, and I was like, oh, good point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like there's a lot of these like little facets to this puzzle that I think if somebody like thinks about AI risk for half an hour, but they don't stumble across 3 or 4 of these like, oh crap, you're right,
Mm-hmm.
pieces, then they might come up with a very different answer than me. Yeah.
Right. But I guess why do you think it's inherently unreasonable to think that this space of minds has like less than, 99% minds that are fine with leaving humans alive or minds that will leave humans alive, I guess.
Yeah, I think this mostly just because I'm like thinking about all the things that it is possible to want. Like, if you just take humans, humans are all like 99 point whatever percent biologically similar. We all have like shared experiences of like eating the same foods and drinking the same water and breathing the same air, and like even among humans who are like so heavily selected to be the same thing, it's like kind of hard to find a viewpoint that no one espouses. Like you can be like, what if everybody died? What if we just killed all humans? And there's like a lot of humans out there that are like, that would be just fine. And some of them are like, that would actually be good.
And it's like, oh, if the AI wants it, then we should listen to what the AI wants. If they're smarter than us,
Yeah.
they'll make a better world
Yeah.
out there.
But so like I look at human mind space, and it's so wide and so varied, and humans want so many different things. And I'm like, okay, if you back out and you don't even have the constraint of like, running on this exact genetic code that all of us are basically sharing,
Mm-hmm.
then that just seems to make it like exponentially bigger. What is possible for a thing to think and want and like a way for it to be? Like certainly most animals don't care about humans, and most animals are more similar to us in like a fundamental sense than the AIs of today
Mm-hmm.
are. Like a salamander brain is more like a human mind than ChatGPT.
I guess maybe another argument is like, we're not looking at the space of minds, we're looking at the space of minds that humans are trying to make aligned with them. And like,
Yeah.
obviously our alignment techniques are not perfect because there's still a lot of this deception, but like, do you think it's reasonable to be like, okay, maybe the space of minds in general are not favorable to humans living, but maybe the space of minds when we put in like our level of effort into making.
Yeah, it just seems like an insufficient level of effort. It seems like things go real squirrely and real sideways. Like we keep sort of like sending the problem into the corner. Like one of the LLMs will be like really sycophantic, and the solution will basically be for somebody to type into the system prompt, please can you not do that?
Mm-hmm.
Which like whatever deep thing caused it to be sycophantic is still there. And they're like, okay, please don't
We're
do
just
that.
solving the shallow.
We're just like, okay, it's like trying to teach a child through nothing but like punishing them if they do the thing you don't want.
Mm-hmm.
They like will stop doing the thing you don't want when you're around and where you can see. But like if you don't somehow get the lesson deeper than that, then like as soon as they become a teenager and go off and are empowered, they'll do something very different.
What's going to happen is that I'm going to be in a conversation with someone else, and I'm going to try to like say this argument, and there's going to be something they're going to disagree with, and I'm trying to like.
And then
work
send it to me,
this.
will you? Will
Yeah.
you send me their
Well, I
disagreement?
think like
so I can
part
write
of
it down.
Yeah. Well, I know that one of the things about If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies is that there's like a website that's supposed to answer like all of people's questions.
Yeah, it's got a lot. It's got twice as much content as the book, 3 times as much content as the book. We worked pretty
Yeah.
hard on it.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just keep coming back to this whole thing of like, I don't know, like I feel like there's a wide range of things I can be convinced of with logical arguments that are bigger. Or like there's this thing where, this book is written about intelligence is smarter than the authors, but I think in some sense like you or the authors are like, have thought about this more than me and are therefore able to convince me of a wider range of positions.
Yeah.
And so I feel like that's why it feels like to me it comes back to deferring or try or like who are you supposed to
Yeah, I
listen
think the
to?
right place to start if you're in that position of uncertainty of like, oh God, I could be talked into one thing by this guy, and then if I go talk to Sam Altman, he'll convince me of something else.
Oh yeah,
I think the place to start there is thinking about the question of burden of proof. Like, one of the things that's kind of weird is that the people who are making billions and billions of dollars and getting fame and power by making the AI,
Mhm.
you can notice they really, really, really want the burden of proof to be on demonstrating conclusively that it's unsafe.
Right.
They're like, we want to take over the world and make trillions of dollars, and they do in fact want to do good things too. Like they want to cure all the cancers and stuff. But they're like, yeah, I don't know. It seems like you should let us keep going.
I mean, if
making
everyone
this
dies,
powerful
they
thing.
dies too. So it's not in their interest to advocate for something that they believe to cause everyone to
$1
die.
trillion can really confuse a person, though. Like,
Mhm.
there's the old saying about like it's very hard to get a man to believe something if his paycheck depends on not believing it. This
Yeah.
is that, but like even more.
Right.
But like you'll notice that they really want the burden of proof to be on. You have to prove that it's unsafe, otherwise we're going to keep going. And I actually don't think that the flip side is necessary. Like, I would love it if the burden of proof were on. You have to prove that it's safe before we go. But like even just having it be 50-50 would be a big step forward over where we are right now. Like if people watching were like, okay, he wants the burden of proof on safety, he wants the burden of proof on danger, that itself is like that person being like, okay, that's kind of weird and I should like maybe not be tricked by either side. Maybe I should think about the arguments. I feel like if everybody on Earth like actually sat down and thought about the arguments for a day, I mean, this will never happen. But if everybody on Earth actually sat down and thought about the arguments for a day, I feel like billions of people would be very concerned.
Yeah, I mean, my experience from talking to people is that people that think about it in depth can sort of come to agree that there's at least a greater than 1 or 5% chance
Yeah.
that everyone will die if a
Yeah.
super intelligence is created.
And part of the problem is that the flip side is like, but don't you want everybody to be like immortal and living in utopia forever? And yes, I do. Nate does. Eliezer does. Like Eliezer started as an accelerationist,
Right.
and it was like,
Right, because like if you had a super intelligence that was aligned, it would solve all our problems,
Right.
and we'd be like in
yeah,
paradise.
like we actually want it. We just don't think that we get there clumsily.
Mhm.
Like clumsily, you just die.
Yeah. Like I remember there'd be a comparison in the book about like building AI that won't kill us on the first try. It's like a college student building a nuclear reactor in their basement on the first try.
On the
It's
first
like
try.
it's technically possible to build a nuclear reactor that doesn't kill everyone, or
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that doesn't kill like
Yourself,
that doesn't
on the
explode.
first try.
But it's hard, and the space of nuclear reactor designs it's pretty small. Sorry. In the space of possible nuclear reactor designs, the area
The safe targets are
the
pretty
safe
small.
target is pretty small.
Yeah,
So there's kind of an analogy to that, but I don't know. People can make all sorts of analogies.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. People can make all sorts of analogies. Ultimately, at the end of the day, I think the train should have brakes. That's like one thing that I think most people should be able to agree on. Currently, right now, if Donald Trump was like, all AI progress needs to shut down, it's not actually clear what would happen. It's not clear whether it would shut down. And even if it shut down here, it wouldn't shut down in China. And so, like, in a fundamental sense, the train just doesn't have brakes. There is no pause button.
Mhm.
And I think no matter how skeptical you are about doom, building the brakes just seems overdetermined.
So I guess that leads into the question of what we should do about it. I think there's a lot of tension in the AI safety community between more moderate approaches and some incremental legislation here and there, and
Yeah.
like the things the book calls for. The book advocates taking extreme measures to like ban any frontier AI development or
Yeah.
like stop
The book advocates that collectively,
Yeah.
nations in treaties should be willing to take
that like the
extreme
only
measures.
thing we should prioritize is essentially like international treaties to
Yeah.
like stop any of these things from being built, and the conventional nuclear arms playbook being used to like secure that.
Yeah.
And like everything else is worthless. And that seems very idealistic and ambitious. So I don't know.
I mean,
what is your perspective on that?
progress is happening so fast. 5 years ago, if you described the technology of today 5 years ago, people would laugh in your face
Yeah.
and tell you that you were insane and that sort of technology wouldn't be available for centuries.
Yeah.
Like reasonable people with expertise would laugh at
Yeah.
you.
I would
And
laugh.
so
It's absurd.
my sense is like, I don't know, we're in this like very narrow and getting narrower window where like as the capabilities increase, people's like awareness and nervousness also increases, and the question is like, will people get scared enough to take it seriously, like fast enough to stop the
Right.
rocket?
Yeah. I mean, we have done these international treaties for things like nuclear weapons.
Yeah,
Um,
and coordination, and like with COVID in January of 2020, everybody was like, "Of course, we're not going to shut down the country. Are you crazy?"
Right.
And then in March of 2020, the country was shut down. Like
Mhm.
people can pivot. It just takes a critical mass of like political will. So,
Yeah. Um,
enough people believing that there is even a 10% chance that like this will kill their children and their
Yeah.
grandchildren will, I think, cause people to be like, let's build the brakes. And the question is just, will we get that critical mass in time to actually build the brakes, or will we miss our shot?
can you talk about? This is a stupid question, but can you talk about the stakes of everyone dying? I think when people hear everyone dies, it sounds very abstract.
Yeah.
But like, what
Yeah.
happens if everyone dies?
So my kid, who's 2, doesn't go to high school, doesn't have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, doesn't have a career, gone, dead. You don't get to make a kid if you want to make a kid. Like you just don't have time. The only creatures that we know of that care about things like beauty and truth and fairness, gone. Like maybe the universe out there is teeming with life. But even if it is, like we don't know if that life cares about beauty and truth and fairness. So like the thing that feels at stake here, both in the like grand abstract and in the very, very specific. Like in the grand abstract, the reasons that I love humanity are at stake. And in the very tiny specific, like the baby that I held in my arms last night, not getting to have like a teenagerhood and an adulthood. That's what feels at stake. Every
Were
cool
you
person.
here last night?
Sorry?
Did you actually hold your baby last night?
2 nights ago.
Two
Good
nights ago.
point.
Okay.
Good point. But like
Okay.
every cool
I think
person
based
you've
on
ever
that,
met.
you can be fully discredited, and then we.
Yeah,
I mean,
just showed
because
myself.
because we've established your track record of lying. Now we know that the inverse of what you said is true, and
Yep.
therefore, if anyone builds AI, everyone will live happily
Everyone will
ever
live
after.
happily ever after.
So-
I again,
Duncan Sabien debunked.
again, as Nate said over and over in his interviews, we wish the book were in the fiction section. I would like nothing more than to find out 10 years from now that I was just anxious about nothing and everything was fine. That would be great. I just haven't had anybody be able to show me that that's true.
Yeah. I mean, this is also something people are skeptical of. I don't know if there's something you can say that will convince people of like, oh, you actually care. You don't just want like attention and immediate I guess maybe you're better as someone to speak to this than the authors of the book, because you're not a celebrity to like the average person in any way.
Yeah, no, I mean, I just gave up my old career to switch to like trying to help fight this fight because I think it matters. I've moved to California. I don't make millions and millions of dollars. I mean, the authors of the book also, like, they're not going to make any money off the book, basically. Like, all the money's going back into the like, Miri machine to try to fight the fight. I get that people are, like, reasonable to be skeptical of incentives of, like, oh, but you just want investment, or, oh, but you just want fame. I think it's fine to have that suspicion, and then I think people should go and actually check, because, like, some people actually aren't corrupt.
Yeah. When did you come to believe that your life would be a lot shorter than the average?
Around 2015.
How did the way you lived your life change after you learned that?
Yeah, not super much. I have some essays on this about like how to live a good life under the cloud. But there's like a thing of like, you could get hit by a bus.
Yeah.
You could get cancer. Like there was sort of, it's different when everybody dies than when just you die. But there still is this sort of like, okay, I think the answer is the same that it always was. You like do meaningful work, and then you like try to have a good life around the edges of your meaningful work. Like I think the only thing that shifted for me is that I became less patient with things that would only pay off in 10 years.
Mm.
Like I no longer embark on projects that will suck and suck and suck and suck and suck and suck and then be good.
Yeah.
I still embark on long-term projects because, like, who knows whether we have 2 years or 5 years or 10 years or 50.
I think the authors you're pretty clear about it. It's not clear how long it will take.
Yeah, and so you got to just like do your best to live a good life in the meantime. But just like the main advice that I would have for people is don't front load your suffering. Don't do a bunch of things that are only good if they pay off 10 years from now, because like we could all die in 5 years and you would have had 5 years that you just didn't enjoy at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think about this as a college student.
Yeah, it's a hard time to be in college, even without super intelligence risk.
Yeah.
I really do got to go, though. I'm running low on steam.
That happens. Okay. Thank you so much. Any final words to the audience?
Yeah. I think the last thing that I would want to say to the audience is something like, life is good, and people are good, and the world is good. And like, I think there are a lot of fights that end up getting like politicized and going wrong and going sideways. And like, I don't know, during COVID, the right side of our culture was correct about, like it's actually bad to trash the economy. And the left side of our culture was correct about, it's actually good to stay home and like not accidentally kill someone else's grandma. Like both sides were right, and they both like took half the truth and like ran in opposite directions. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a thing here where like I think every single human can get on board with like preserve the good things. Like there are good things happening. There are good things happening in humanity. There are good things. You're doing good things. You're doing good things. Like happiness is nice. Beautiful sunsets are nice. Let's not end the game. Let's not end the story. The story is good, and I want it to keep going.
I thought your last message, I was hoping it would be something more like and subscribe, comment below.
Oh, but I figured
share with all of your friends. No, but it would be so much more authentic if you said it, because everyone would be expecting
like
me
and subscribe.
To say it. No, I don't know. People can make their own decisions about that. Yeah. But yeah, thanks for listening.